Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on the air with you. It is now 6 o'clock here in California, and it is my duty to inform you that we are live, and we are on the call-in number as well. And in just a few moments, we will be live on a show called the Pete Santilli Show. Pete Santilli. We're going to be on his show. And they have an email here for me that says at 6:03 I'm to call in. So at 6:03 I'm going to call in. I'm going to leave us on the air here and do this as well. And we do thank you. We're going to talk to Pete Santilli about some things that have been going on in my life and in the life of my ministry. And I call it the devil's torpedoes. And those torpedoes have been fired upon me. One torpedo was fired, then a second, and now a third torpedo has been fired upon us. Me, the Congressional Prayer Conference, the First Southern Baptist Church of Buena Park, and indeed, the gospel of our Lord. Hello?
Pastor Drake?
Yeah.
Hi, it's Ashley. Just calling to remind you that you're coming on in about 4 minutes.
Okay,
Let
well...
me know when you're in the queue. Just text me.
Okay, well, you want me to text you on this phone, or you want me to call in on...
Yeah, text me on my phone. Yeah, just text me when you're in the queue. The number I gave you last night, I texted to your phone and I emailed it to you.
Yeah, I've got it right here in front of me, the 605 number. You want me to call in on that at 3 minutes after?
Yeah, call in. Call in right now. I figure I'll phone with you.
Okay.
Bring you on in about 2 minutes after the news, okay?
Okay, I'll hang up on this one then. All right, she's telling me to call in.
By freeconferencecallhd.com. Please enter your access code followed by the pound. This menu will repeat. Access code accepted. Muted.
Public fight with Mayor Bill de Blasio has distracted him from addressing the real concerns of rank-and-file officers. Joel Rose, NPR News, New York.
There are now 10 major candidates vying for the Republican nomination for president. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry is taking another stab, announcing his candidacy today, saying he wants to undo what he calls the failures of the Obama administration.
We have been led by a divider who has sliced and diced the electorate, pitting American against American for political purposes. 6 years into this so-called recovery, and I might add our economy is barely growing.
Perry was an instant front-runner in the Republican race 4 years ago, but fell after an embarrassing moment when he couldn't remember which federal agencies he wanted to close. Wall Street lower by the closing bell today. The Dow down 170 points, nearly a 1% drop, ending at 17,905. The Nasdaq down 40 to close at 5059. The S&P 500 down 18 to close at 2095. This is NPR. After a procession from Wilmington to Dover, the son of Vice President Joe Biden lies in honor today in the Delaware Capitol's Senate chamber. Beau Biden, who died Saturday of brain cancer at the age of 46, was the former Attorney General of that state. His funeral will be held this weekend with President Obama delivering the eulogy. Militants in the Gaza Strip shot rockets into Israel late yesterday. Later, Israel's Air Force struck back at what it called terrorist infrastructure. NPR's Emily Harris reports the rocket fire appears to be part of growing tensions among different Palestinian groups. An Islamist group calling itself the Omar Brigades claimed responsibility for the rockets that struck Israel. It said the attack was in response to Hamas killing one of its members in a shootout in Gaza Tuesday. Hamas is the Islamist organization and militia that dominates the Gaza Strip. Hamas said its security forces killed the man because he was planning attacks inside Gaza. Israel holds Hamas responsible for the actions of all groups in Gaza and After the rocket attack, Israel's Air Force struck 3 Hamas militant training areas in Gaza overnight. A similar exchange of attacks between Gaza and Israel took place last week as well. Emily Harris, NPR News, Gaza. Harvard College will now admit transgender women. The all-female college in New York City says the new policy will consider applicants who consistently live and identify as women, and that includes transgender men, excluding those born female but identifying as male. It's the last of the so-called Seven Sisters colleges to update its admissions policies. I'm Janine Herbst, NPR News in Washington.
I'm on.
Yesterday we got an update from Rudy Davis, okay, a very disturbing update on the YouTube channel for following Pastor Ken Hovind. Pastor Ken Hovind is probably still shackled in a bus, being what they call dieseled somewhere. But along with that update, we're discovering that that those Christians especially that start defending, people like Pastor Ken Hovind, and stand up for our U.S. constitutional rights as well, and start talking about differences, between evolution and creation, and start having that argument, that the establishment takes the IRS and all of their AR-15s and starts sending them after people, hunt them down for taxes and throw them in jail and do all kinds of really nasty things. Pastor
Unmuted
joins us right now for an update as to what has happened to him as a result of his support of Pastor Ken Hovind. Pastor Wiley Drake, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Pete. How are you?
I'm doing great. I heard some disturbing news. I wanted to hear directly from you what has happened to you recently at the hands of the Gestapo IRS. By force, they have done some things to you, haven't they?
Well, absolutely. It's not just the IRS. It's the rest of the alphabet soup group, too, the CIA, the NSA, and so forth. But in particular, quite often, as I have supported men like Kent Hovind, we're going to Washington, D.C., as a matter of fact, to do a persecuted church prayer meeting just behind the Supreme Court on Saturday, June the 13th. And they don't like it when we come to town. They don't like it when we're getting ready to come to town. And recently, when I went to Pensacola, visited Pastor Kent in jail, the government came after me. I'm the pastor of a local church here in Buena Park, California, and they came after me and issued basically a bogus piece of paper that said we owed them $50,000. We don't owe them, still do not, never did, but they still say we do. So I got together with my tax guy, and he presented to them that we didn't owe it and shouldn't have to pay it. And they said, okay, you're right, he doesn't owe it, he doesn't have to pay it. But the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. The collections department still went ahead and proceeded to levy my church, our church bank account in particular. And so they shot a shot across the bow, and they indeed went to our bank and found out that we had a little bit of money in there, and they took it all out and said we were in trouble with them. And then they encouraged us, though, not to allow the bank to be closed, because they said if the bank account goes to zero and it zeroed out, then you would the account would automatically close and they wouldn't be able to come back to get more money. So they encouraged us to keep the account open. So they indeed have come after us again. I am still on with my tax people, the experts, and again, the IRS is admitting the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. However, my church bank account has been taken over by the IRS. And The other reason that this is happening is because we just recently took in a couple of people that the government doesn't like. The man who was known as Mr. Benghazi, Nakula Basila Nakula, wrote that movie that Hillary and Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Hussein Obama, they finally admitted that the movie had nothing to do with Benghazi, and so they put Mr. Nakula in jail, and then they were embarrassed by that, and they asked this church, this sanctuary, to take him in, and we have indeed taken him in. And there's another man now from Egypt that is homeless on the street, and we specialize in homeless people because of their needs. But this man's name is Mustafa. Mustafa is a converted Muslim, became a Christian, and has a book about his conversion. But wherever he goes, he is attacked. And he has been made homeless by two groups, the Muslims as well as the CIA. The CIA went to his wife and 4 children and said to his wife, if you will divorce him, we'll give you a green card. That's the CIA, the other alphabet soup people. And so they continue to fire shots, and they have continued to do that. And I said yesterday, I had people calling me saying, I'm so discouraged. Don't be discouraged. I remember in history, I was a Navy man. I was in the Navy. And I remember learning about David Farragut. And way back a long, long time ago, that old sailor was on a boat going up the river to attack the enemy, and they kept firing at him. And his crew said, Captain, Captain, back off. Captain, let's don't keep attacking. And Farragut said that famous saying, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. And so they can torpedo my bank account, they can torpedo my church, they can torpedo me, but damn the torpedoes, we're going ahead to tell people about Jesus and get people saved so they don't spend eternity in hell.
You know, Pastor Drake, let me ask you something. You're a nonprofit, correct? What is the IRS disputing as far as you owing taxes? You're a nonprofit. Are you a 501(c)(3)?
We are, not because I want to be, but because California has a ruling that says if you cease being a 501c3, you lose your property. That is, the state gets your property. And so we still have our property here, and therefore we are a 501c3. And they keep saying that we owe them this money. They won't even tell us why we owe it. We don't have any payroll. We only have 2 people that eke out a living here at the church from the church. That's myself, the pastor, and my associate pastor, my son, Wiley Jr. But they're saying that we owe all this money. They say we owe $51,000, and we don't.
And they just seized your accounts, just locked you out of them, and
Absolutely.
Did they give you any advance warning?
No, absolutely none.
None. They just locked it out, and you tried to figure out what the heck was going on, and you found out that the IRS.
Well, let me tell you exactly what happened. We are a small church, and in order to keep our bills paid, I travel a lot, so I have our light bill, our gas bill, our water bill, our phone bill, all on auto pay, so that every month, at a certain date in the month, that bill is paid, and I try to stretch them out through the month, but most of them are in the early part of the month. They're on auto pay. Well, I started getting warnings from the light company that our bill hadn't been paid. And so I said, well, what? No, we're on auto pay. And they said, well, the bank didn't pay it. And so I went to the bank and found out that indeed a dear friend of ours had helped us and given us about $10,000 to put in the bank so that auto pay would be paid, because many months our income is less than our outgo, and so that money would help us keep the auto pays going. Well, the IRS found out, that little tiny church has $10,000 in the bank. They owe us $50,000. We're going to take the 10. And so they took the 10 and in essence put us out of business. But damn the torpedoes, we're full speed ahead. We're keep going. We're going to keep feeding the homeless and the poor. We're going to keep doing what we're doing.
That's awesome, Pastor Drake, but what is very disturbing above and beyond the update that I got is what you're telling me is that a donor gave you money to cover your expenses if you fell short and the IRS decided to take money even outside of any income or expenses, took a donation that someone had given you to deposit into your account to cover your expenses if you fell short.
Absolutely right. In fact, that, in all honesty, when they first gave it to us, it was about $15,000, and they said, spend it any way you want to, but we know you have trouble paying the bills every month. And so several months ago, they gave us that $15,000, and over the last 6 or 8 months, that has dwindled down some because some months our outlay is greater than our income, because most of the people that attend our church and give very faithfully to our church, by the way, are people that used to be homeless or still homeless, and their offerings are very small. And so that's what's happening. But the IRS found out that that was the case, and that was the first volley of the torpedo. Now, since you asked me to come on the show, they have fired, not the IRS, but the county tax assessor has fired another volley. And here's what happened. When my mother-in-law passed away a few years ago, she owned a little condominium. And she knows that as an old pastor, I don't own a home. The church owns a home, and they allow me to live there in that home free. But she said, look, you're not going to live forever. You're going to get to be an old man like I'm an old woman. And when she died a few years ago, she left in her will the condo to me, gave it to me. Well, she passed away. She went home to be with the Lord, and that condo is now in my name, my personal condo, because she wanted me to have a place. When the church says you're too old and you got to go, you got to retire, I would at least have a place to live. Well, I got a call this morning from the tax assessor in the county saying, we're going to reevaluate your property. We're going to reassess it, and we're going to tell you that it's worth a lot more money than it was before. And I said, well, that's nice to hear, but however, what's the bottom line? Oh, the bottom line is you're going to have to pay more taxes.
More property taxes through the reassessment. When was the last time it was reassessed?
I don't know, probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, they do that all too often, so that especially with the increase in home values in Southern California, especially.
Yep. And she said, not only that, but if it reassesses, it will not only reassess today, but go back 3 or 4 years. And I'll owe back taxes.
Do they really?
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to brass tacks now.
All right.
Dre, you and I know that Christian pastors are being basically steamrolled by the system, and they pretend, of course, that, as a matter of fact, we're going to take a break and come back. Tell us about what the U.S. government right now is doing through their bureaucratic machines that are well-armed with badges and guns, of course, like the IRS, going after people they don't like, and those are Christian pastors like Pastor Ken Hovind and Pastor Wiley Drake. It's happening. You cannot deny it. They try to deny it, but we know that there's a direct connection between the IRS going after pastors and, you know, the only pastor they haven't gone after, Pastor Drake, is, I'm going to say his name, Pastor Reverend Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
They don't go after Al Sharpton, but they go after Pastor Wiley Drake, probably because maybe Al Sharpton is a little bit more compliant along with their agenda. So, proof positive. We'll be back with Pastor Drake right after this, you guys. Don't go away. Stay right there, Pastor Drake.
Okay.
Jacob Boskov dreamed up the most sinister weapon he could think of. Then he built a prototype and tried to sell it in an international weapons trade show.
Life Change Tea. The unique blend of 8 herbs helps detoxify your body so you can live a healthier life. Numerous testimonies have been given about the benefits of drinking Life Change Tea. So, are you drinking Life Change Tea? Interested? Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Many are so impressed with our product, they order a year's supply. And why not? When they do, they receive 2 months free. That's a $70 savings. The body is meant to heal itself. Sometimes the body just needs a little help. Get the tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. This is not an ordinary green tea and is not available in stores. This tea helps with digestive problems, acid reflux, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and as talk show host Jerry Doyle says, it'll make you as regular as a baby bird. Enjoy your life. Get Life Change Tea at getthetea.com.
By the way, I had an opportunity, Pastor Drake, because I went to an Al Sharpton event in Cleveland. Okay.
Yeah.
I was not going to be a hypocrite because I believe that everyone needs to hide their cheese from the IRS. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite to say, well, let's use the federal government to go after our quote-unquote adversary, over on the left wing and send them after Al Sharpton. But I cannot stop and say, well, they're not being hypocritical. Why are they not going after the likes of somebody like Al Sharpton for taxes, but they're going after Pastor Ken Hovind, and they're going after Pastor Wiley Drake? I wonder why, Pastor Drake.
Well, that's a good question because Al Sharpton, according to what I understand, owes millions of dollars of back money to the IRS, and legitimately so, but he doesn't pay it, and they just let him slide and keep on going.
Probably because he's a little bit more compliant with their agenda versus both you and Pastor Hovind have been outspoken against their agenda, correct?
Well, that's absolutely right. In fact, the matter is, the new leader of the IRS, John Koskinen, is a man that we need to look at. During the first 7 months of his time there on the new job, he went into all kinds of hearings. He is administering the IRS, and he was checking them out supposedly for doing exactly what they're doing to me and delaying organizations from applying for the status of welfare organizations and so forth, and the revenue codes. And the hearings also focused on the time it was taking the IRS to respond for documents and circumstances surrounding the hard drive crash of Lois Lerner's computer. I'm wondering if maybe Lois Lerner and John Costin were watching porn on the internet and it crashed their computer.
Probably, huh? Yeah, that's what we're finding out, from the Pentagon to all of these government agencies participating in sexual deviancy.
Yeah.
That's what we always find out that they do. But let's do this, Pastor Drake, if you don't mind. I think you've been pretty well connected to what's been going on with Pastor Hovind. Your situation, I believe, is connected. They could deny that it isn't. You've been outspoken in support of Pastor Hovind. Pastor Hovind, they dropped all the charges. I understand he might still be shackled to a bus, being dieseled and carried around throughout the routes that the Bureau of Prison takes. Is he still being held against his will?
He is still being dieseled around, and that simply means that the prison system, the Board of Prisons, when they do finally have to release somebody, they don't want them to feel like they're really released, so they put them on a bus and diesel them here and diesel them there, because they're diesel buses, and that's the term. But he's wearing leg irons, he's wearing irons on his hands and around his stomach, and being carried all over the place. Even though all charges have been dropped, they indeed still have him incarcerated, and we just continue to pray with him. That's why we're going to D.C. on June the 13th, we'll be there at the Supreme Court to pray for the persecuted church. Not only Saeed Abedini in Iran, but Kent Hovind here in this country, and other pastors who've gone to jail because they fed the homeless people. And so we're continuing to try to find out why they won't release him. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, just unlock the door. He said, you don't have to bust me. You unlock the door, I'll go home. I'll walk home if I have to, he said. But they got to diesel him here and diesel him there and continue to abuse him in all that he's doing. What a tragedy in the United States of America.
How long has he been dieseled?
Well, for the last 2 weeks now.
You've got to be kidding me.
No, over 2 weeks.
Riding around on buses.
Yep.
Bureau of Prisons buses. Have you heard from him? Has anyone?
Oh yeah, we had him on Rudy's show, and we've been able to communicate a little bit with him, but it's been limited because they say, well, you know, you're not in one place long enough to use the phone.
And they just put him back on the bus, and he remains shackled and inconvenienced and uncomfortable.
Yes.
The desired intent.
Yes, and of course that's what they're doing, because they don't like the fact that his case was the first one in 9 years that they lost. And they don't like to lose. And so they're saying we lost, but we're still going to abuse this man. You see, they came in the night 8 years ago. His wife was in bed asleep. They came in to arrest her husband. Her bedroom happened to be up front. And when they went in there, they grabbed her out of the bed, would not let her go to the bathroom, would not let her put on a bathrobe, and arrested her, and she was in jail for almost a year.
Unbelievable. But does he expect to be released anytime soon?
Well, he expected to be released a week ago, but the expectations are, you know, still there, but he still has not been released.
So here we are, Pastor Drake in the United States of America, talking about this happening to Americans by their government.
Yep. Well, it's unbelievable that this kind of thing could happen in the United States of America. I went to Vietnam in 1964 and fought for this country, and I'm a veteran, and I am appalled. We have over 30,000 veterans in Los Angeles that are sleeping on the street. In Brentwood, where Clinton gave the property to the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce. And it was veterans' property that was donated to them for a veterans' home.
Was it really?
Yeah.
And she gave the property up?
No, that's the whole point. The property was dedicated to a veterans' home and given to the veterans' home. And when Clinton was in, he used that property. He took the property away and used it to negotiate to get big bucks from Hollywood, and they made a park out of it. And that, you know, our veterans protest that every Sunday right over here in Brentwood, the high-rent district of the West Coast.
Yeah, wow, this is incredible. Pastor Drake, you know, our prayers are with you, of course. Do you expect that at any point in time that the IRS are going to apologize and give you your money back?
Well, when pigs fly, you know, I don't think they'll apologize. They might be forced. My tax expert is telling me that eventually they'll have to admit that we don't owe it, and eventually they will not grab our accounts anymore. And he says eventually they'll give that money back. But I'm not going to hold my breath. We're going to continue to help. People have been sending me donations through PayPal and so forth. And but anyway, God is blessing us, and we're going to keep on firing those shots. We're going to stay after them. We're not going to let them beat us.
Well, Satan, I understand, is now a bankster, and we can't let the banks go away. What's the name of the bank that actually allowed your money to be taken without them giving you the courtesy of a so much as a telephone call to let you know that your money has been seized by the IRS and all of your bills are about to bounce. What is the name of that organization?
Bank of America.
Of course. They're an extension of the freaking the evildoers over at the U.S. government, aren't they?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's.
And by the way, like I said, just to give you the numbers, there was $10,000 in the bank. They took the $10,000, and that left us, with no money in the bank. But the $10,000 that they took out of our account and sent it to the government, they charged us $100 to transfer that money.
Did they really? And didn't even bother to call you, and you actually paid the fee for them to do that?
Absolutely.
So, can you imagine? You're a customer by force.
Yeah.
It's a transaction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you as a customer don't deserve to know because they're working for the IRS, of course.
Of course. And my tax man said, please try to get a copy of the levy so we can negotiate and talk about this thing. And the bank said, we can't give it to you. You have to get it from the IRS.
Can you imagine that? And you paid a fee for it.
And I paid $100 to have it transferred.
By force.
By force.
Unbelievable. So what can we do, Pastor Drake, to tell our listening audience what they can do to stay abreast of your situation? Put pressure on Bank of America. Everyone should be picking up the phone, calling B of A, calling them a bunch of scum, rotten, you-know-whats.
Well, you're absolutely right. And I'll give my email and phone number out to anybody. Everybody has it. The NSA has it. My email is wileywiley@att.net. wileywiley@att.net. That's WILEY. And my phone number is 714-865-8132. Anybody can call me. As we were talking a little while ago, my phone rang. I didn't answer it, but it rings, and I'll answer it usually, unless I'm on Pete Santilli show. But they can get in touch with me. I'd appreciate them getting in touch with me. We do a thing called Boots on the Ground and Prayer in the Air. And when we go to Washington on June the 13th, I would pray that you would join us. If you can't be boots on the ground, call us, and we'll give you the prayer line number. You can call in and be prayer in the air. On Saturday, June the 13th at noon. On Sunday, June the 13th at noon. And then at the Southern Baptist Convention in Columbus, Ohio, on Tuesday evening the 16th.
Sir, please give the prayer number.
The prayer line number is a conference call number like you use. It's 712-432-1690. That's 712-432-1690. And the access code is 399-430-pound. 399-430-pound. And that is available, and we would encourage people to call. Pray with us, pray for us, let us pray for you, and let us help you in any way we can.
Yeah, Pastor Drake, we will be we'll follow you, of course, your progress to Washington D.C., and of course support your prayer efforts, and of course be praying for the release of Pastor Kent Hovind. Thank you for everything that you've been doing in support of that, and thanks for coming on and giving us that update. We'll put your telephone numbers and your links out there in today's episode.
Thank you very much. God bless you. And, folks, just keep on keeping on. Guess what, folks? I read the book. The last chapter says we win.
Yes, sir. That's right. Semper Fi, Marine.
Amen.
That's right. All right, take care, Pastor Drake.
God bless you, brother, and thank you so much.
Yes, Pastor Drake.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that is unbelievable.
Muted. Wow, what a story.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Pete Santilli Show. We just did it. And I'm going to go over here and turn this part of this Pete Santilli Show off. He's finished, and I'm finished. And this will be up on our archive if you'd like to come back. It'll be titled Pete Santilli Show. God bless you, and good night.